There are two kinds of men in this world: those who react and those who reposition. Those who respond to disrespect with emotion, and those who destroy by never playing the game. You've been taught to fight, to clap back, to prove your worth in every room where your name gets dragged. But Machiavelli knew better. He didn't waste time with revenge. He mastered something stronger. He understood that the most dangerous man is the one who can end you without ever lifting a finger. This video is not about becoming aggressive. It's about becoming untouchable. Not with rage, but with stillness. Not with war, but with precision. Because the goal is not just to win battles. The goal is to become the kind of man that your enemies regret ever underestimating. And once you master these truths, your power won't be visible. It'll be felt. Let's begin. They say the loudest man wins, but the truth? Power doesn't shout. It starves chaos until it fades into irrelevance. Let's begin with the art of destruction through pure indifference. Here's the first rule you never learned. Silence is not passivity, it's positioning. When someone disrespects you, mocks you, or talks behind your back, the average man responds. He argues, he explains, he tries to fix the image in the minds of others. But that's the trap. Because the moment you defend, you validate the offense. Machiavelli would have told you, a ruler never kneels to clean rumors. He rises until the rumors collapse under his presence. In real life, you're at work. A colleague tries to undermine you in front of the team. Don't argue. Don't correct. Don't even flinch. Just smile slightly and carry on with excellence. Let results replace rebuttals. At school, someone spreads lies about you to win points with a girl or a group. Perfect. Say nothing. Outperform everyone in silence. Because every time you let your results speak, you say one thing without a word. You can attack my name, but you'll never touch my value. Here's your strategic move. The goal is not to silence them. It's to make them irrelevant. And once people realize your name carries more value in silence than theirs does in noise, you've already won. Once you stop reacting, a new game begins. Not of retaliation, but of redirection. Here comes the second move. A silent reframing so surgical, they won't even know they're bleeding. Most people want to win arguments, but Machiavellian men don't argue. They frame. Why? Because power is never about being right. It's about being remembered. When someone tries to provoke you, to mock, to bait, to pull you down, they want one thing: to control how others see you. But you flip the frame. In a family dispute, instead of raising your voice, you lower it. You let their chaos fill the room. You become the calm. And now, every eye in the room sees them as emotional, and you as composed. With a woman, she tries to test you, disrespect you publicly to see your reaction. Don't flinch, don't educate, just pause, then change the subject. Not only did you pass the test, you redefined the frame. Here's a tactical example. When someone talks about you with hostility, and you're asked to respond, say, "I don't carry bitterness, I just focus on what I'm building." Boom. Frame shifted. Now they look obsessed. You look elevated. Machiavellian would say, you don't need to dominate the narrative. You just need to move like someone who isn't part of theirs. And just like that, the crowd starts watching them less, and you more. But don't stop there. What happens next is the killer blow. And it's not louder, it's colder. Now the battlefield shifts. Because some enemies don't need to be destroyed. They need to be left behind. Here's the third move. Sometimes the most brutal punishment is not rejection. It's irrelevance. When someone disrespects you, spreads lies, or tries to sabotage your progress, you don't need to retaliate. You evolve. You rise in a way that makes their entire plan look childish, like they were fighting an older version of you that no longer exists. Imagine you're in college. A so-called friend mocks your goals, copies your work, or subtly tries to compete. Most men would argue, confront, defend. But a man of strategy doesn't waste breath. He studies harder. He performs sharper. He aligns with better people. He changes rooms altogether. At work, if someone undermines you, you don't fight for the same seat. You build a new one at a different table and let them rot in a chair that no longer matters. A lesson Machiavelli would whisper: let your enemy stay obsessed with the version of you that you've already buried, because now they're chasing a ghost. Here's how you execute it. When they provoke, you don't engage. You produce. Let your new level be the only answer they get. No explanations, no announcements, just progress. So sharp it makes them disappear in the rear view. And now that they're obsessed with chasing your shadow, here's where we step into real dominance. Some men burn their enemies down, but the wise ones, they hand them the mic and let their own noise bury them. Let's move to the fourth move, destruction by overexposure. There's a unique elegance in letting your enemies speak while you say nothing, not out of weakness, but because you understand something they don't. The more they talk, the more they reveal. Let's say you're in a workplace and someone keeps trying to frame you as untrustworthy or incompetent. They plant seeds, they gossip, they try to turn others against you. Here's what most men do. They run around clarifying, explaining, defending themselves in every room their name is mentioned. But Machiavellian men? They smile and remain still, because every man who is desperate to discredit you will eventually overplay his hand. As one might say with Machiavellian clarity, he who speaks most often loses first. Instead of reacting, you move with unshakable calm. You show up on time. You deliver results. You hold frame. You never mention his name. And slowly, the contrast begins to appear. Your performance creates tension with his words, and people notice. A precise application of this. When someone lies about you, don't deny it. Show up in such excellence that the lie starts to feel absurd. If you're dealing with a woman who tries to ruin your name after rejection, don't defend. Let her talk. The more bitter she sounds, the more it proves your absence was power. Let the echo of your composure expose what her volume can't hide. In this game, silence isn't retreat. It's a scalpel. When imitation becomes mockery, don't compete, transcend. The fifth move is not to erase them, but to build so far above, they look up and lose hope. The most dangerous competitor is not the loud one. It's the one who becomes unreachable. And nothing destroys a rival faster than proving they were never even in your league. Let's say someone starts copying you. They mimic your ideas, your aesthetic, your strategy. You feel like they're trying to take your identity. This happens in business, in art, even in dating, when someone tries to one-up your image in the eyes of others. The insecure response is to fight back. The strategic response is to outpace, to innovate so quickly, so precisely, so wildly beyond their blueprint, that by the time they replicate your last move, you've already shifted the entire landscape. As a philosopher of power might say, to crush your imitator, evolve faster than they can learn. For example, if you're building a business and a competitor mimics your offers, you expand your service line, you improve your branding, you change your pricing model, you never look back. If a guy tries to copy your fashion, your energy, your jokes to win over a woman you used to date, you don't compete. You upgrade your entire lifestyle until you become the kind of man she doesn't compare. She regrets. Your job is not to defend the crown. Your job is to become the king of a land they can't map. Because a man who becomes too complex to imitate becomes impossible to compete with. The proud never see it coming. And that's the point. When arrogance blinds your enemy, humility becomes your camouflage. This sixth move, it's about letting them climb while you watch them fall. Some enemies don't lie. They don't gossip. They don't imitate. They just look down on you. They smile with arrogance. They underestimate you. They believe you'll always be beneath them. And that belief? That's your most powerful leverage. Because when someone is drunk on superiority, they never see the ambush coming. Let them stay comfortable. Let them laugh. Let them believe you're no threat. Then build quietly. Plan ruthlessly. Grow silently. Until one day, their voice no longer moves the room, and yours commands it. A truth Machiavellis would encode in shadow. Never interrupt the proud while they are making their downfall inevitable. This works in any context. At work, when a boss underestimates you, you don't beg for promotion. You build a portfolio so undeniable that the market comes to you. In dating, when a woman treats you like a backup, you don't chase. You disappear and let her learn that no other man brings the presence you buried under humility. In family, when relatives belittle your choices, you stop explaining. You let your results put their entire worldview on trial. Power, when silent, turns arrogance into ashes. And the moment the applause fades, your enemy collapses under the weight of their own ego. Narratives are prisons built with words. But kings don't defend their name. They reshape the entire map. What comes next is control through framing, not force. Here's the seventh move. A weak man defends himself with words. A powerful man never lets the attack define the conversation, because battles are loud. But frames? Frames are invisible prisons. Once you're inside one, no matter how well you fight, you're still boxed in. That's what most men don't understand. When someone mocks you, disrespects you, spreads doubt about you, it's not always to hurt your image. It's to shift the lens through which others see you. And the more you defend, the more you validate that lens. This is why Machiavelli would never chase public approval. He knew that the moment you start justifying yourself, you're not leading, you're pleading. So how do you destroy someone who tries to control your narrative? Not by fighting the story, but by changing the stage. You act with a consistency so cold, so grounded, that the story they built around you can no longer hold. At university, if classmates say you're arrogant, deliver your group project with surgical focus. Be the one who solves problems with zero emotion, and let the professors and peers realize arrogance wasn't the issue. It was your clarity they couldn't match. In your social life, if someone says you're manipulative, operate in absolute transparency. Make every move visible, every decision explained without drama, and let the lie evaporate in the sunlight of your control. You don't destroy the narrative by rejecting it. You destroy it by becoming living evidence that it was never true. And the crowd always notices. Even if they don't say it out loud, they feel the fracture. And little by little, the one who tried to define you becomes the one who looks delusional. And now, the eighth and final move. No fire, no fury, just a cold erasure. When your enemy realizes they were never even the villain in your story, that's when the silence hits deepest. The final and most elegant form of destruction isn't attack. It's erasure. Not dramatic, not emotional, not violent, just absence. When an enemy invests time, energy, obsession into trying to bring you down, and you don't respond with anger, but with disinterest, you send a message they can't ignore. You were never part of my long-term story. Machiavelli would call this the ultimate disarmament, making your enemy realize they were never a rival. Just a moment, a lesson, a noise that faded. Let's say you used to have conflict with a colleague, a classmate, an ex. When people bring up their name, you respond with calm. You say things like, "I haven't really thought about them. I hope they're doing well. That part of my life is behind me." No sarcasm, no coldness, just neutrality. Because nothing kills a grudge like learning it was one-sided. That's the final collapse. Not the loss of a battle, but the loss of meaning. When your enemy realizes they spent months trying to break you, and you never even saw them as a threat, that's the kind of silence that echoes for years. True destruction doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't prove. It moves in silence, not because it's weak, but because it's already won. The most devastating response is not revenge. It's elevation. It's when you rise so far, so calmly, so relentlessly, that the attack loses all meaning, and those who tried to hurt you end up hurting their own pride. You don't fight. You outgrow. You don't argue. You outlast. You don't stay to explain. You disappear into excellence. Because Machiavelli never spoke of chaos. He spoke of clarity, of knowing when not to strike, because your absence speaks louder than any blow. And your silence? It doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is. In today's world, precision is power. When you stay calm, they start doubting their own rage. When you keep building, their gossip starts sounding like applause. When you stop responding, they start chasing a ghost they'll never catch. So let this be your shift. Stop defending. Stop reacting. Stop explaining yourself to those who don't deserve access to your energy. From now on, let your boundaries be invisible but unbreakable. Let your discipline become your new language. Let your distance speak louder than their noise ever could. You won't slam the door. You'll walk through it, fully intact, and never return. Because you've taken back the only thing they could never control, your direction. And when they try to follow, hoping for closure, confrontation, or chaos, they'll find none. Just echoes, just results, just a version of you they can no longer touch. And that, in the end, is the most haunting kind of dominance. Not the kind that destroys what's around you, but the kind that makes your absence feel heavier than your presence ever did. If this opened your eyes and you're serious about becoming the man who's in full control of his life, my book is now available. The Undeniable Man, Built to be Chosen. It's a strategic guide for men who want to attract, lead, and dominate in their love life and beyond. Whether you're single or in a relationship, no fluff, no tricks, just pure, powerful strategy that will set you apart from 99% of men, and that you will actually use every day. The link is in the description. And if this video spoke to you, don't just keep your thoughts in your head. Write a comment, even just a few words. It helps you remember these lessons, and it might help someone else too. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this content, and share it with someone who, in your eyes, needs it right now. Just trust your instinct. We're all trying to get clearer, more solid inside. So let's build minds that don't break.